What's up? Welcome to your Buckeye Rush Hour for a Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. Good to see you all. Lovely people. Welcome in. Let me get my stuff loaded up here. Today we're talking over-unders. We got to talk some gambling here. It's been a long time. We don't talk enough gambling sometimes, in my opinion, but got to feed what you guys want. So, all right, let's get into it. So I'm going to lay out these over-unders for everybody. Obviously, we don't have any quarterback over-unders because nobody knows who is starting. Still there, yeah. If we don't have a starter named by Ryan Day's next press conference, I think it should be like Monday, we're definitely going with two quarterbacks into that first game, as much as it hurts me to say. All right. So I want your predictions. Hop in the chat, everybody. I'll read off each of these over-unders. You tell me what you think. Just give me like Travion Henderson is our first one. Just hit me. Say Trey, over or under. All right. I'll keep track of these and call you guys out at the end of the year. This is just regular season, so keep that in mind as I take a drink of water. That's straight gasoline. All right. Travion, number one, his over-under is 1,049.5 yards rushing. Over-under that. Then the other Travion over-under is 11.5 touchdowns. You remember when he was a freshman, he went for 1,248 on the ground and 15 touchdowns. This is just rushing yards now, okay? So 1,049.5 and 11.5. He went for 183 carries as a freshman, 1,248 yards, rushing only, and 15 touchdowns. He also had 27 catches for 312 yards and 4 touchdowns. So what do you think? Over, under on that one? I am going over on both counts. On the yards, he's definitely going over 1,000 yards, and 1,049 is just barely over. So I think he's going to blow by that. I'm looking at another 12 or 1,300 yard season, just rushing, and then 12 touchdowns, easy. I think especially early in the year, he's going to have a chance to really pad those stats when we run the shit out of the ball first 3-4 weeks. So I'm going over Travion, 1,049.5 rushing and 11.5 rushing TDs. Okay. I realize this is a deep running back room and everybody wants to get carries, but Travion comes first. All right, next up, and he's 100%. You got to remember, Trey is 100%. He's chomping at the bit, ready to go. Next up is Mayan. Now, this one gets a little dicey for me. Mayan Williams, 849.5 rushing yards, 8.5 rushing touchdowns. So he had a bunch of injuries last year. He still was not 100% in spring ball. He went for, his career year was in 2022. He had 825 yards, 14 touchdowns. This is all rushing. So this is a week 4. I know he'd probably be a starter on most Big Ten teams and many Power 5 teams, but 849.5 is a bit too rich for me. That's more than last year's rushing numbers for Mayan. So this is a tough one. I'm going to go under on the rushing yards. I think he doesn't hit 800. And then I'm going to go over 8.5. So maybe he gets 9, 10. Yeah, I could see him stealing some goal line touchdowns, So I'm going to say over the 8.5 rushing TDs for Mayan. Under the rushing yards, 849.5, over 8.5 rushing touchdowns. Okay. Again, you're going to have other running backs there chomping at the bit to get carries. Evan Pryor is going to want the ball out of the backfield, whether it's in the pass game or whatever it might be. Dallin Hayden, he's going to want some carries. So I think they feed Travion, keep him happy, but Mayan might take a little bit of a cutback on snaps. All right, next up, Marvelous Marvin Harrison Jr. His over-unders here, 1,199.5 receiving yards, so 1,200 or under. And then over-under 13.5 touchdowns. Obviously, he's the best player in college football. Last year had 77 catches, 1,263 yards, and 14 touchdowns. So program, those are records, by the way. The 1,263 and 14 TDs for a single season. Unanimous All-American. Should be a Blitnikoff finalist without even getting out of bed. So some of this depends on who the quarterback is, who's calling the offense, how often are they throwing the ball in said offense. So I don't think it really matters. I think they're gonna use Marv as much as possible. I don't know how you don't. So 1,200 receiving yards, 13.5 touchdowns. I'm going under on both. Hate to say it, but I think we got a lot of dudes in that receiver room right now. You got Emeka. He's going to garner some catches. Julian Fleming, if he's 100% healthy all year long, he's going to get a lot more catches. And you got Tate chomping at the bit to come up there. Xavier Johnson, he's going to get some catches. So I think I got to go under 1,200 yards, under 13.5 touchdowns for Marv. Let me know what you guys think. I know that might be a blasphemy in Buckeye Nation, but just looking at what he did last year, he had a great year last year. I don't know if he can replicate that. That's hard to do in college football. Emeka Egbuka, while we're on receivers, his over-under receiving yards, 1,099.5 receiving yards and 9.5 touchdowns. Obviously, second best wide receiver in the country. Last year, he had 74 catches, 1,151 yards, 10 touchdowns, fifth in program history for the touchdowns. This is a tough one for me. So basically, he needs to have as good a season to hit the over. He needs to replicate last year. Again, I got to say under on both. I think he gets close. I think he gets like maybe 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. But I'm thinking that the other guys in that receiver room are gonna steal some catches, steal some snaps. Depending on how they manage these blowouts, maybe, the starting receiving core is out by the third quarter, midway through the third. So I'm going under on both of those as well. And that's because I got Julian Fleming here. Next up, let's see, in 2022, he had 34 catches, 533 yards, 6 touchdowns, and had a touchdown in 5 straight games, then got hurt. So limited injuries are the only thing holding him back, honestly. So his over-unders are 449.5 receiving yards, 4.5 receiving touchdowns. I'm going over on both of these counts. This is a layup for me. I realize maybe you consider him the third option, but even in this high-powered offense, I think him being the third option still has some serious production, man. So I'm going over 449 receiving yards and over 4.5 receiving touchdowns. I think he gets up in the 700 range on yardage and 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, somewhere in there. This is all regular season. Keep that in mind. So next up, the X-Man. Now you might wonder, why is this guy getting over under bets? Well, because he plays in Ohio State's offense, and the dude's a weapon. We've established that. He's the most versatile player in the offense. He can do it all. I could see him lining up in the backfield, in kind of a Devontae Smith kind of role, running that orbit motion around behind the quarterback from one side to the other. Maybe catches a swing pass when he's got some momentum going towards the line of scrimmage. Maybe gets some good perimeter blocking out there and takes off. So this is an easy one. These are rushing and receiving yards. Okay. He's 99.5 rushing, 349.5 receiving. So this is kind of tricky. I think he gets over. Oh shit. That's 100 yards rushing. How tricky do they want to get? How tricky is Ryan Day going to get with the offense? 2022, he had 13 catches, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then he had 12 carries, 146 on the ground, and 1 touchdown. This is tough. I think he goes over the rushing yards. I think he hits 100 easy. He did 146 on just 12 carries last year. So receiving 350 seems. I'll go over because I think they're going to distribute this ball to a lot of different dudes through the air. And 350 is a lot. That's 200 yards more than last year. I'm going to go over. I think he gets close to 400, 450. So over on the rushing yards at 99.5, over on receiving yards, 349.5. Versatility, the B word. Kate Stover is up next. Over under 399.5 receiving yards, 4.5 touchdowns. Okay. So first, what did he do last year? 36 catches, 406 yards, 5 touchdowns. So can he replicate last year? That's basically what his over under is. 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think he's worked really hard at his receiving abilities. He's worked more with the Monarch machine, catching more balls after practice, working with Keenan Bailey, the tight ends coach. I think he's really, and maybe he takes better care of his body this year and isn't flying around through the air. I'm going over. I think he gets more than 36 catches. I mean, that's only 3 a game. I think he could get 4 to 5 a game. 406 is what he did last year. So I'm going over the 399.5 receiving yards. I think he gets close to 500. And then the 4.5 touchdowns, I think he gets 6 to 7. So I'm going over Kate Stover, 399.5 receiving, 4.5 touchdowns. So we'll see. He can be a weapon down in the red zone, All right, JT, let's flip it over to the defense here. Obviously, one of the best DNs in the country, highly touted, 5-star. So last year, only 3.5 sacks, 10.5 TFLs. That's good. Good, not great. But he would be the first Buckeye. His over-under is 7.5 sacks here. So he'd be the first Buckeye since 2019, Chase Young, to be over 6 or more. So 7.5 sacks. I think he goes over, and I don't think it's very close. I think he hits double digits. He said his first step is faster. Larry Johnson said JT's first step is even faster this year. So I'm going, I don't know if he'll have a couple against Penn State, but I'm going over 7.5. I think he easily gets to double digits. Over for JT. Now, Jack Sawyer didn't have a great year last year either, but had 4.5 sacks, 6.5 TFLs. Obviously needs improvement in both areas, right? He's back at the DN position, weak side. Just let him go, let him rip. So 6.5 sacks is the over-under. I'm going over for Jack Sawyer. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Jack and JT both get to double digits. That's not impossible. I could see them both having 10 plus. So I'm going over for Jack. I think he wants to atone for last year's crimes against him by Jim Knowles. Still, PC, I'm still looking to put that warrant out for Jim Knowles' arrest. I haven't forgotten about that. Just kidding. Yeah. So Jack, JT, 10 plus. I'm going over on both of those guys. Now this gets a little dicey here. You don't see D tackles getting a ton of sacks, especially not 6.5. So Mike Hall is 6.5 is the over under 6.5 sacks. Last year he had 4.5 sacks, 7.5 TFLs. That was just in the first 6 games. Then he got the shoulder injury. Didn't even get a TFL the rest of the season. So can he stay healthy? This is like a contract year for Mike and even Tyleek. So I think if Mike stays healthy, 6.5 is a lot for a D tackle, but he did 4.5 in 6 games. I think he could hit the over. I think he could definitely hit the over. Again, health. Availability is the most important ability. So, yeah, I'm going over the 6.5. The front 4 is going to be a sacking machine. All right. Interceptions. All right, let's talk DBs here. Denzel Burke, 2.5 interceptions. That doesn't seem like very much. Just off the top, I'd say, yeah, over. Duh. So last year, obviously, no corners had a pick, which is pathetic and unbelievable. So BIA returns, definitely gets over 2.5. I mean, I don't know how he doesn't just walk into 3 interceptions. I mean, this seems pretty easy for me. Even if he's on a little bit of a rotation with Davison Igbinosun. Yeah, I think at least 3. He could see up to 5, maybe 6 at the most. So you will see a couple teams that'll whip it around. You know, you got Purdue, Western Kentucky. Not sure if Notre Dame's going to throw it around that much. Yeah. Wisconsin bringing in Phil Longo, more of a not really an air raid, but definitely got to throw the ball a lot more than Wisconsin is used to throwing it. So he's going to get his opportunities. I go well over for Denzel Burke. So let me recap. Travion was 1049.5 rushing yards, 11.5 rushing touchdowns. Mayan 849.5 rushing yards, 8.5 rushing touchdowns. Marvin Harrison Jr., 1199.5 receiving yards, 13.5 receiving touchdowns. Emeka, 1099.5 receiving yards, 9.5 receiving touchdowns. Julian Fleming, 449.5 receiving yards, 4.5 receiving touchdowns. Xavier Johnson, 99.5 rushing yards, 349.5 receiving yards. Cade Stover, 399.5 receiving yards, 4.5 receiving touchdowns. JT, 7.5 sacks. Jack, 6.5 sacks. Mike Hall Jr., 6.5 sacks. And Denzel Burke, 2.5 interceptions. All right, let's check on the chat. What's happening in here? Hope you guys are following along. Tipper says, I don't gamble. And then he proceeds to give me a prediction. All right, that's cool, Tipper. You don't have to gamble. What's up, Stephen Cherry? What are you doing? Good to see you. It's not a Sunday night, Stephen, but I'm glad you're here. Billy says, howdy, folks. Steven says Evan Pryor will have a big comeback year. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, possibly. Temper, Billy Steven, hey, Temper, your specialty over under. That's right. For Steven. Steven says Harrison will go over. Okay. Jeremiah, 2023, the year of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's go, Jeremiah. Billy says, wouldn't mind if Marv's and Emeka's numbers are down due to dominant run game. It's possible, but I think there's just so many other dudes in that receiver room that are going to get snaps, man. Steven says, Fleming over. I agree with that. Billy says their draft stock won't go down. No, they won't. I mean, not at all. Steven, under for Xavier. Ooh, on both? On rushing and receiving? Steven says under for Stover. Oh, come on now. It's not the year of the tight end. Was last year the year of the tight end? We didn't even celebrate. I was going to get some dancing girls and balloons and, have a chick pop out of a cake or something. Anyways, oh well. Another missed opportunity, right? Temper says after last season, I'd love to see a strong run game. Yeah, I agree. I think you will see a stronger run game. Steven says, Joe, you have a lot of overs on offense. Day has a lot of mouths to feed. I know that. But we did it in 2021. We were over on many of these offensively, so I wouldn't be surprised. Temper says, that's what I was thinking. Temper miracle. Steven says, can Hall stay healthy? I'm saying under. Ooh, under. Okay. I don't know. 6.5. I know 6.5 is tough for a D tackle, but Michael Hall can be disruptive. He had 4.5 in 6 games last year. I'm not going to dismiss that. Blight V, what's up? He says, I hope your channel keeps growing. I really enjoy it. Your show isn't buttoned up like the beat, but not as obnoxious and vulgar as Menace. Thank you. I guess I found that a little sweet spot, right? See, the difference between my show and a lot of the other shows, and this is what I've tried to come up with over the last couple of years, is I want it to be more like a conversation, like I'm talking with you, not at you. I feel like Menace to Sports is Zach is just like talking at you, like just blah, 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 Whereas some of the other shows on the beat, those guys are kind of just talking, some of them are talking at you, but none of them really feel like they're talking with you, like having a conversation. That's why I like these live shows where I can read your comments and we can go back and forth. And eventually when we start the call-in show this Sunday, don't forget, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing about a 30-minute call-in show, depending on how many people we have. But that way I can really get conversational with you guys, and you guys can really prompt us, me, Jeff, and Sean, to talk about particular topics that you want to hear about. So little side road there for you. Back to the chat. Billy says, no problem if Hall is healthy. Temper says you'd be better off who stays healthy over under. Yeah, that's a good point. Cheer. Steven Burke under 2.5. Oh man. Does Burke get any interceptions? Is that a better question? Billy says our D line should be pick your poison for the O lines. Everybody should eat. Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Billy says I can't gamble in Cali. Oh. How far is Vegas from you, Billy? Steven says, taking a wait and see approach for the DBs. Okay. I understand that. It's easy to do after not logging a single interception last year. It's kind of frustrating. So I can understand the apprehension there. So, yeah, what did you guys think about Mayan? You think Mayan gets over 849? That sounds like a lot. He only went for 825 last year. I know he had injuries and stuff. He had the 14 TDs. I could see him stealing from some TDs from Travion, like down in the lower red zone, goal line situations. Tipper says Indian casinos, Billy. Blight V says, I agree completely. Thank you for the uploads. You're my go-to now. I imagine during the season, you'll really feel the love. Yeah, we'll get to 3,000 subscribers here shortly. We kind of hit a plateau there over the last month, but I think we're going to ramp up once the season gets rolling. You're going to get some of the casual fans coming in here and finding the show, and that's fine. I got no problem with the casuals. So can't bet. I shouldn't. Billy says I live 5 miles from 2 casinos. Steven says under for Mayan. Yeah, his running style does lead to more injuries. I get that. What's funny is how he got hurt last year along the sidelines. I went back. I've rewatched all the games, like the condensed versions from 2022. That was so freaking frustrating. He hurt his hand and his ankle because that dumbass linesman, the chain gang guy, didn't drop the freaking chain. So the guy held it up. Mayan goes down, gets his like wrist caught in the chain, and the guy's still holding it up. It's like, hey, dumbass, do your freaking job. Drop it so you don't get somebody hurt. Too late. It's frustrating. People don't fucking do their jobs. Jeremiah says, will Mayan start or will Travion start? I think Travion starts. Everything out of Ryan Day's mouth, Tony Alford, Travion is the man. He is the go-to, the starter, and he's going to get the bulk of the carries. He's going to have a bounce-back season, much like his freshman year. He's in a good mental space right now, so I feel really good about Travion. But I do think Mayan will steal some of those goal line carries and snag some touchdowns. So maybe he goes under on the yardage and over on the TDs, something like that. So what else? Are you guys still riding high from the big commitment last night? Edric Houston. Is Larry Johnson back? As I take a drink of vodka. Just kidding. Just water. Is Larry Johnson back? Oh, Stephen asks, do you see anyone transferring out of the program? Well, only graduates can transfer out right now. Otherwise, if you decide to not come to practice, you can't enter the portal or something like Kyle or Devin, for example. If one decides to leave because they don't win the job, you can't hop in the portal yet. There's not an open window. You could just not come to practice. I don't think that's a good idea because then you can't work out, can't stay in shape, and teams are really going to frown on that when you do hop in the portal. That's not a good look, But people transferring out, I don't think a quarterback will transfer out after the season. I don't think so. But maybe it really depends on who wins. Yeah, I don't know. Running backs? No. This is a contract year for Travion. He could be gone. Mayan's definitely gone. So I don't think Dallin should consider the portal at all. Receivers. Yeah. Like Billy says in the chat, the 2022 class. Yeah, the 22 class. You can see Kojo Antwi, Keon Grays, those guys, they're getting recruited over big time. It'll be interesting to see if Brandon Ennis leapfrogs them too. It seems like Carnell Tate already has. I mean, from what everybody says, he's in the 2 deep right now. So there's one less position for the 22 guys. Timper says, I want to see how good the D line is this year. I think it's going to be amazing. I think barring injury, I'm concerned about Tyleek's knee getting rolled up there first week of camp. So let's get him healthy as soon as possible and not push it. So I think you're going to be really impressed and really happy with the D-line. I think Jack and JT are going to feast. Mike Hall is going to do his job in the middle. Ty Hamilton's solid and reliable. So Yakov 2022, Yakov 22 says 2024 recruiting OSU has 14 players in Rivals top 250, including 10 in top 100. Michigan has 7 in top 254 and top 100. Yeah. And Michigan is spiraling. They are in a death spiral on their recruiting front. I was just looking at the team rankings, the average per player. Seems like Michigan dropped again. We're number 1, obviously, 93.85. Georgia number 2, 93.53. Bama third, 92.68. Florida drop off there, 91.93. But then, so Michigan's all the way down here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18th. They're at a 90.45. They have 17 4-stars and 10 3-stars. You imagine having 10 3-stars on Ohio State? We have 2. 2 and 5 5-stars. If it ever gets to the point where we got 10 3-stars, man, I fucking quit. I'm gonna burn my jersey. Stephen Cherry says Carnell Tate gonna play inspired the passing of his mother. Yeah, I think so. How many snaps will he get? Billy says, but Mitch is good at development. They are, to a degree. They're also good at hitting the portal for the experienced O linemen, D linemen, stuff like that. Yeah, Temper, I agree. Temper says our freshman receivers are awesome. No doubt about it. What else here? I was looking at the rankings again, the team rankings. I was surprised Auburn was up there at the per player ranking, coming in 5th. Dirtbag Hugh Freeze is doing some recruiting. Florida State 6th, A&M 7th. They'll waste all the talent. SC 8th, Tennessee 9th, Clemson 10th. Clemson hasn't done shit in recruiting, it seems like, in the last few years. And they don't use the portal. They're like afraid of it or something. So I don't know what to do there, man. Clemson doesn't concern me whatsoever. But. All right, 22 views. If you guys are ready for college football, please hit the like button. Por favor. Gracias. Billy asks, do we have a receiver commit for 25? No, but we do for 26. Chris Henry Jr. is confirmed for 26. No receivers yet. That's right, Jeremiah. Week 0 is this Saturday. And by week 0, they mean there are no good games. But, hey, at least there's football. I'll tell you, a good game is Good Counsel, the high school team out of Maryland, coming to play Lakewood St. Ed's up on the lake. That's a ball game. I will watch that. Got the freaking Armstrong twins. That O-line for St. Ed's goes on average 6'5", 300 bills. That's a high school team, man. Jeez. Oh, I will be watching that. I think that's on ESPN or ESPN2. I'll try to post every week what the schedule is for the guys, our commits and stuff. So, but there's some good freaking games coming up. Last week was a great week for Northeast Ohio football. Went 4-0, beat up on the state champs from Virginia, Indiana, yeah, Kentucky. So did pretty well. Oh, here goes Steven. Bold prediction: Navy over Notre Dame for college football's first upset. I like it. What kind of action you getting on that, Steven? You giving points to anybody, or Let me check the spread on that. It has to be out, right? Oh. NCAA, Navy. Oh, geez. The spread's 20.5, man. Notre Dame's favored by 20.5. Not going to get me on that one, Stephen Cherry. No freaking way. I'd love to see Notre Dame lose to Navy, yes. But where is that game? Is that out of town? Is that a neutral site over in Ireland? Don't get that. Why is the Navy going to Ireland again? Aren't they low? They might not want to see our Navy again. Yeah. All right, folks. Hey, I got to skedaddle, but please hit the like button if you are ready for college football. We are counted down. What are we? Less than 10 days to Buckeye football. So please hit the like. Make sure you're subscribed. I realized the other day, I learned this from another show, that a lot of people think they're subscribed, but they're actually not. So make sure that you're all subscribed, and we can get this thing up to 3,000 subscriptions very soon. Jeremiah going out the door says we are going to find out just how overrated Oder Lame is this season. Good one, Jeremiah. Appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Hit the bell. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Bucks.